Welcome into the PHNX Sun Devil Show, coming to you live from Studio K, presented by Circle K. Join Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen,
come on, give me some fire!
It is time to meet us on Mill, because your Arizona State Sun Devils got the job done for the first win over an SEC team in program history. Arizona State knocking off Mississippi State 30-23. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. I am Anthony Totri, joined as always on these lovely shows by the one, the only party animal himself, Erik.
Come on!
We got DJ Coop behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen. Guys, we got a jam-packed post-game show for you today. So everybody grab your celebratory drink.
Cheers,
we're
brother.
Gonna cheers, and we're going to have a good time tonight. We got bottle service. We got drive of the game. We got closing time. We have it all. We got sound from the post-game pressers. Erik, we're going to have a lot of fun. Kyle, I want you to do me one little favor, because I see the chat. We got a ton of folks in here. We got new friends, old friends, diehards. I want to run that win music just one more time, because I want this chat to everybody. I want everybody dropping a forks up, a scat. It doesn't matter. So let's run that one more time, just so we can get the vibes. Everybody get ready. Okay. Now I said, it is time.
What time is it?
It's time to meet us on Mill, because Arizona State made history. Program history. Not only the first win over an SEC team in program history, but the man of the hour, Cam Skattebo, had himself an evening. And Erik, we are going to get into all of that fun, but I want to kick things off with what Kenny Dillingham had to say last week after his press conference against Wyoming, right? Want to know, you dominate Wyoming. Said, I don't know what this team is yet. Why don't you know what this team is yet, Kenny? Because I want to see how these guys respond when adversity knocks on the door. And I said it last post-game show. Is this the type of team that goes and cowers in the closet when the boogeyman knocks on the door? And I'll tell you what, Mississippi State came knocking. Cam Skattebo kicked that mofo down.
Yeah, Cam Skattebo was the boogeyman. They said, ooh, they're scary.
I'm here.
SEC size, no more.
Oh my God.
You can't keep up with Cam Skattebo. Listen, this was one of the greatest rushing performances in Arizona State history. Second most yards in a single game, just second to Eno Benjamin when he eclipsed 300, which is crazy when you think about it. But listen, this is a school that has a long lineage of incredible running backs.
Yeah.
Some of the best players in school history have been running backs. And you can add Cam Skattebo to that list. 262 yards on the ground. He was running people over. He was finding the open holes. He was evading people. He was elusive. He was fired up. And you could tell he's a beast because his jersey had grass stains and rips. And he just kept going. This team, when powered by Cam Skattebo, is an unstoppable rushing force, SEC size or not.
Dominance. That's exactly what you witnessed if you're an Arizona State fan. And we're talking again about Cam Skattebo. It was pure dominance. He was just absolutely bowling over Mississippi State defenders, SEC level defenders, SEC sized defenders, which we'll get into a little bit later. But again, we'll get into scat, but the adversity for me is something that I wanted to see. And it's something that if you're an Arizona State fan, and if you're an Arizona State fan in this chat, you're likely somebody that's watched the Sun Devils over the years, right? And you've seen him with Herm Edwards, you've seen him with Todd Graham, you've seen him in the past. And I think when it comes down to it, there was a lot of people that, for lack of better terms, started clenching, right?
Yeah.
They started clenching because they're like, wait, this is a Mississippi State team that we were just up 30-3, and you blink, right? And we heard it all week. We talked about it. There's some playmakers on that Mississippi State team. You let them get going. Kevin Coleman, he got going. 80-yard touchdown at one point in the fourth quarter. And this team, offensively, when they needed it most, were able to get a drive together to put this game away. Defensively, some big stops. Keyshawn Elliott some big tackles, the D-line making plays when they needed to. Adversity is exactly what this team was able to overcome. And for me, this is a much, much better win than winning by 41 points over Wyoming.
Yeah, this was, hey, guess what? This is the best win of the season. Right. Okay. With two really great comments in the chat from two of our regulars. B says, perfect situation for Kenny because he'll be able to coach up mistakes in a victory. And then Sharon, one of our lovely diehards, said, Kenny said all last season that we needed to learn how to win games. I think we are learning. Yeah. Absolutely. Listen. There are a lot of things, and of course, if you're new here and you're here for a post game, we appreciate you. We're here 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And we have been throughout the entire offseason talking about this team, and we will talk about what they need to do better because there was a lot left there for them to improve in different facets of the game. But the best part about all of this is you still had a fantastic performance. Right? You still beat an SEC team for the first time in school history. You still put up 30, and sure, you hit a couple obstacles. You got punched in the mouth. Mississippi State fought back.
Yeah.
And what did you do? You held on, and you won the game. And you do it behind Cam Skattebo, but you do it behind an incredible offensive line as well. The offensive line absolutely dominated the SEC size. I'm going to keep saying that because so many people were throwing shade at us for talking about that all week long, man. And telling us how wrong we were about that, specifically saying, oh, Totri, what do you mean the SEC size won't make a difference? It really didn't.
No.
It really didn't at all.
No, the Arizona State offensive line for, I would say, about 3/4 absolutely dominated up front, which is something that, again, Hannah in the chat, who's a Mississippi State fan, says, I'm a Mississippi State fan, and I must admit, your guys' play up front really surprised me. Way more physical than I expected out of a former Pac-12 team. Congrats on your win. Appreciate you hopping in the chat. It's something that, and I had tweeted it out, this is a team in Arizona State that even going into week 1 against Wyoming, we were talking about the offensive line, no Sean Na out there. You didn't know how your tackles were necessarily going to be able to hold up. And really, especially in the run game, this was an offensive line that absolutely bullied the Bulldogs from pretty much start to finish. Up front, you can pick out probably 3 or 4 drives in the second half where Arizona State's offense got a little stagnant. And look, that at a certain point, you're going to be able to understand simply because, hey, it's Mississippi State, and this is a team that after you've run the ball for 180 yards, they're like, okay, we're going to load the box. Mm-hmm. We're going to load the box. We're going to go make Sam Levitt beat me. And even when they loaded the box, specifically on that last drive of the game, Marcus Arroyo said, that's fine. Bet. We got our guys. You got yours. I like mine better.
Yeah, he didn't shake at all.
No, he did. And specifically, we can talk about the offensive line all we want. And that's, again, massive, massive credit to them. Because, again, I don't care about the SEC size. It's an SEC defense. Right, going up against an offense in practice like Mississippi State that has dudes, that has burners, that has talent, and they're able to overcome it. For me, Cam Skattebo was, again, Arizona State, Kenny Dillingham, just over the first 2 off seasons, has been able to bring in a lot of talent on both sides of the football. You talk about a Keyshawn Elliott, you talk about a Sam Levitt, you talk about a Jordan Tyson, you talk about a Cole Martin, talk about an Xavier Alford and a Jake Smith. Cam Skattebo today stamped his signature on the best Arizona State transfer in the last decade, hands down. I don't care. I know there's guys like a Rashad White. I know there's guys like an Xavier Valade. That's all good and well. Those guys were here for a blip of time. Cam Skattebo went through the mud last year with this football team. He could have gone anywhere else that he wanted to and played as a starting running back in Division I football.
Like Wyoming, right? Wyoming would have them.
I'm going to run it back. He said, I'm going to run it back. And not only is he running it back, but this man has stepped into a leadership role. This man has fully embraced what it means to be an Arizona State Sun Devil. And he put the team on his back when they needed him most. He said, I got you. And like that for me is the most impressive thing. Like the yards is fine. The most impressive thing about Cam Skattebo is the fact that he opted to come back and then has performances like this.
It's a massive testament to this coaching staff and to the system as well. The same reason why so many transfers wanted to come here after a 3-win season is also the reason why Cam Skattebo stayed.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at some of the people who transferred away from Arizona State right now, I feel like they might have a little bit of FOMO. You think BJ Green's having fun?
Some buyer's remorse here?
Right. Like, you're looking at Arizona.
Oh, I will get into Colorado and Arizona later.
Hey, listen, let's celebrate first. And we've got
time for that later.
We have a revenge tour to go on. There was a couple pretty poor performances by some former Pac-12 schools today. But listen, another impressive thing from Cam. I know this is the Cam Love show. It's going to be for the rest of the show as well. But he also led the team in receiving yards by 21 as well. Now, granted, that was 3 receptions for 35 yards. I think that just his ability to make a big play in a big moment and to do it in so many different ways. I mean, he touched the ball 33 times. He had 33 carries, 3 receptions.
33 carries, man. That's
33
crazy.
carries is insane, but it's not like empty calories. He averaged 7.9.
Yeah.
Per attempt, right? His longest was 39, which is a good chunk. But usually when you see somebody have 262, they're railing off like at least 150, 60-yard one, just right up the middle, no one covering him. He earned every single yard. And what's awesome to see from him is how much work and time and energy and effort he put into his body in the offseason and to slimming down. But do you know how hard it is to slim down like he did, but still keep your strength to the point where SEC-sized linemen are literally bouncing off of you?
Yeah.
I'm never letting that go. Like, it was really, really great to see. And it wasn't just him, but how could you not talk mainly about him in this game?
And that's fair. And that's totally fair. Obviously, it is a team effort, and we're going to continue to give Cam Skattebo his flowers because he definitely deserves it. Obviously, drop a like for Cam Skattebo here. But I want to go to the defensive side of the ball for a second, because the defensive side of the ball was probably the biggest takeaway from that Wyoming win. It was the takeaways. It was the pressure. It was being able to really suffocate a defense from the start, or suffocate an offense, pardon me, from the start of a game to the very end. And tonight, it was an Arizona State defense that did a lot of the same for about 2 quarters. 2 quarters. That first half, Arizona State's defense absolutely dominated. Mississippi State, a team that scored 50-plus points just a week ago, was held to 3. Then the third quarter and a little bit into the fourth happens, and this is Mississippi State team started to drive. And you saw some Arizona State defensive linemen start to fall. Obviously, a guy in Jacob Kungaika, he had gone down. This is a team that played without Jeff Clark tonight, still without Prince Dorba.
Yeah.
So for me, and I know there's going to be a lot of people that watch the entirety of this game that are going to be a little bit on their toes of just like, hey, this team, they let Mississippi State get back in it. For me, I want you guys, at least this is my 2 cents on the whole thing, right? This is a team that was already without so many key depth guys because of injury. Prince Dorba, Kungaika had gone down. I believe Fite at a certain point was injured for a second as well. No Jeff Clark, and no Jamon Tapp, like no LaTerrence Welch on the perimeter. When you get to the third and fourth quarter of some of these games, your guys are going to start to feel those hits. They're going to start to feel the weather. They're going to start to feel just the exhaustion of this game. So for me, I think that, and again, I think that is where you started to see Arizona State's defense maybe not let off the gas here, but almost because of just like they were purely exhausted and gassed based off of the tempo in which Mississippi State,
which is fast.
I mean, we were there at a certain point. They ran a play and I was like, okay, 1, 2, 3. They had snapped the ball again between 10 and 12 seconds. That's an exhausting pace. And then when you get late into the third, early into the fourth, and your offense is 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, that's when your defense is like, dude, we're on the field. Like, not for a significant amount of time, but you are simply out there for so, like, just time and time again that you start to feel it, man. But other than that, the defense is good.
There was a lot of adversity they had to overcome tonight. This was not a win just handed to them.
No, absolutely not.
Right? This was something that they had to work hard, whether it was at the beginning when they were dominant or whether it was when Mississippi State got back in it. And that's the thing with Mississippi State. They have a few players that can make big plays. Kevin Coleman, 4 receptions, 103 yards and a touchdown.
Obviously the 80-yard touchdown.
Right, longest is for 80. Blake Shapen had an okay day, 18 for 28, 268 with 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. This is a step up from that Wyoming team, and you have less manpower on your defense than you did against Wyoming, right? And this is, if anything, something that could be spun into a positive. While you would still like to see them shut down the whole game. A, it's bend, don't break. But B, as well, you have things that you can point at and say, hey, there are so many players who they are missing. There are so many things for them to overcome. And they overcame it, right? This is a testament to what we've been saying all offseason. The fact that this team is 10 times deeper than it was last year. Kenny said it regarding specifically the O-line, but personally, I think it applies to a lot of different positions before the first game of the season. He said, I felt like last year we had to rely on health in order to have a good offensive line.
Yeah.
He's like, this year we have the depth to just have a good offensive line that can retain some losses.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel that same way with the secondary. I feel that same way with the defensive line. I feel that way about the wide receiver room, and I feel that way about the running back room. I feel like you have these options, and in football, you know that you're going to have to rely on them. And it might be week 2, it might be week 7, it might be somewhere in between.
No, you're absolutely
But
right.
this Arizona State team has shown that they're all prepared, and I think the penalties is something that we definitely need to talk about. Not as clean of a game as first week against Wyoming, but this is a Mississippi State team that we said they were better than. We both picked them to win.
Yep.
I did 31-24. 30-23 is pretty close. You did 28-24. That's really close as well. This was about what we expected.
Yeah.
And like you said, this is something that is really exciting to see them respond to some sort of adversity. Now, I see there are some people in the chat getting concerned, and obviously we'll talk about Sam Levitt and everything. And I think you can always look at negatives. It's kind of just how you choose to view sports. I try to find somewhere in between where, there are definitely negatives and things to clean up on this game. But at the end of the day, they walked away with a win.
You're right.
With genuine things that you can look at and say, I can improve on that. And it's not like, we just need to be more athletic.
You're right.
We just need to be deeper. We just need to be better. It's no, we need to clean this thing up. And they can do that. And I trust this coaching staff to get on them to do that.
Oh, yeah, 100%. You got to trust this coaching staff to be able to get it done, right? Your Arizona State Sun Devils are 2-0. That's the cake, right? That's the cover of the book right now. Everything else in between is fine and dandy. Cover says you're 2-0 and you just made history tonight on a couple different fronts. Look, it's a long post-game show, so definitely buckle up. We're going to get into everything we saw tonight. I do want to get to some of the comments in the chat, starting with Bees that says, that's a feature. The up-tempo goes both ways, though. Mississippi State was gassing, too. Absolutely. I think you saw that, too. There was a point in the game where I had somebody that was asking me, hey, they're just continuing to run it right up the gut, and I feel like it gets 1 yard, 2 yard, 3 yards. Like, why are they continuing to do that? And my answer is, right, we're in the first quarter still, and you're seeing those 1, 2, 3 yard runs right up the A gap, right behind your starting center, Leaf Fautanu, maybe not produced right now. But mind you, it's 95 plus outside. This is a team that in Arizona State, we told you at the start of the season, you didn't see it a lot in week 1, but we told you all offseason, this is a run-first team. I don't care how that first game went. It is a run-first team with the stable of running backs that they have. If you didn't believe us after week 1, if you didn't believe us in the offseason, you better believe us now, because Cam Skattebo, again, carried the football 33 times tonight. And those carries where he gets 1, 2, 3 yards in the A-gaps, those inside zones, that's where in the fourth quarter you start to see those 3 yard carries elevate to 7, 8, 9 yard carries. Not to mention, this is a guy that my little brother texted me. He just eats the first tackle every single time. It's just simply what he does. Look, Scat obviously was on his game tonight. The defense, they made plays when they needed to. Let's go ahead, get to By the Numbers, presented by Desert Financial Credit Union, Arizona's #1 credit union, named by Forbes. Of course, the only number that matters, Erik, is that final score. Arizona State outlasting Mississippi State 30-23. The passing numbers for these two teams on totally opposite spectrums. Wow. 69 for your Sun Devils. Nice. You got 268 for the Bulldogs on the ground. 346 for the Devils to Mississippi State's 24. So those total yards, 415 for Arizona State, 292 for Mississippi State. Turnovers, Arizona State with 1 takeaway from the Bulldogs, and then time of possession here, just wild, 40 minutes and change for Arizona State to just 19:47 for Mississippi State. Erik, for you, which one of these numbers stands out the most, maybe tells the biggest story of this game?
It's the rushing yards. 24 rushing yards is pretty tough for Mississippi State, and then you 346 on the other end is that's not bad. Let's say that's a good day. I know a lot of people are talking about preserving Cam. Kelly Parks in chat says McCaskill needs more carry. Scat looked beastly, but we need to preserve him in this long season. I understand that, and if this is an every game thing, I would be a little bit more concerned. But think back to week 1 against Wyoming. That running back love was spread out pretty heavy.
Yeah, you're right.
Cam was not being used a lot, and I don't think you're going to see a ton of games where he has 33 carries, but I do think you're going to see a ton of games where ASU has a significant amount of rushing yards more
Yeah,
their
there's going to be a
opponent.
wild discrepancy, I think,
Yeah.
for the majority of the season.
And
to be
sure,
honest
the
with you.
passing yards is definitely something to look at as well. A lot of those coming in big plays. I mean, obviously the 80-yard reception from Kevin Coleman is a big one, and there's another 27-yard reception from Jordan Mosley that came a little bit earlier as well. You know, you never want to be outdueled like that in the air, but what I love is that this team showed that they adapted and the coaches showed that they attacked what was working. Against Wyoming, everything was working. So the love was spread around. Sam had a great game passing, running. The running backs had a great game. The receivers had a better game, you know, as far as stats go than they did this time. And that's what worked. Against this team, they went with what was working.
Yeah.
And that was Cam freaking Skattebo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, that's a recipe for success at all times. Look, we've got some sound from Arizona State running back, again, the man of the hour, Cam Skattebo, that we're going to get to here in just a second. But first, we are going to take a little bit of a break to tell you about our friends over at Sanderson Ford. Guys, Sanderson Ford, a proud partner of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Sanderson Ford is giving you big payoffs like 0% financing on new 2024 F-150, the Escape, the Edge, the Explorer, the Expeditions. They have it all. Erik, I tell people all the time about my lovely, it felt like a staycation, to be honest with you, in my 2024 Ford Bronco Sport Big Ben, because it was such a good time. The interior, the sound system was bumping. It was just all of it.
It was you.
It was an experience.
Yeah.
It really was. And I went back, was talking to Lauren. I was like, hey, we're going to have to find a way to make this happen. I'm going to need this car in my future long term. And guys, the one thing that you can absolutely count on with Sanderson Ford is they are going to give you the absolute best customer service possible out there. They're going to try and ensure that they get you in a vehicle for the right price that matches who you are and what you want. Okay, shop the Sanderson Ford Playoff Payoff Sale with no hassle, no pressure, and no nonsense. Football is back, and so are the deals at Arizona's largest Ford dealership, Sanderson Ford. See dealer for details.
You know, I'm rocking my branded Bills today, celebrating this Sun Devil victory. This is one of the most comfortable hats I've ever owned in my entire life. They look good. You get compliments on it. I got this one in nice maroon, and then, of course, I got a nice all white one I was rocking earlier when QB1 was in the building.
Yes, sir.
Listen, Brandon Bills, not only do they support us and they're the perfect headwear and apparel, they're also massive supporters of the Sun Devils, partners with ASU Athletics as well. And if you're looking for some gear to make your brand stand apart from the crowd, well, guess what? They can brand you with best custom headwear. We're going to get some custom PHNX stuff that I am absolutely thrilled to be rocking soon. And of course, they're a local company right here from Mesa, Arizona. And the best part about all of it, not only do they look great, not only can you rep maroon and gold for a season that's 2-0 so far.
I love it.
You can get 20% off. Head to brandonbills.com. Use code PHNX for 20% off your first order.
I love it. I love it. Look, I want to get to
I'm
going to get to some of the comments in the chat before we hear from Quattro himself.
Quattro.
Funk.
Sick.
I'm just going to stick with Funk. That is a long name in there, saying whoever gets him is getting a steal. LTC with one of my favorite comments I've seen so far. Andy Reid would do dirty things to get his hands on Skattebo. That's a pause for sure. And then Funk back in the chat. Those Sparky helmets were dope. Absolutely. Obviously, the unis made a big splash on social prior. But I do want to hear from Cam Skattebo just in terms of just the evening, how fun it was for him to be out there and have as many carries as he did, to break records as an Arizona State Sun Devil. Like, it was, again, an incredible performance. We're going to continue talking about Skattebo.
I bet he's going to be super casual about it.
I mean, probably.
I bet he's going to, my prediction is he's going to be like, it's just what I came here to do. It felt really good to be in the flow of the game. And, that's what we needed to win today. And, that's it. That's what I think is going to happen. I don't know. Maybe I'm just calling my shot. But I don't know.
Let's hear from Quattro himself on tonight's game.
I think today was fun. I mean, that's the most fun I've had in a football game in a long time. Until the end, we had our ups and downs there, but that was fun. You can ask these guys up front. I mean, bullying dudes, grown men that are 300 pounds, that's fun to us. That's fun to the front five, the front seven, and a running back. The quarterback probably hates it. He probably likes watching. But, I mean, he didn't complain one time the whole game. That's why I love that kid right there. I sit there and tell him all game, give me the ball. every play. Give me the ball. If he has an option to throw it, give me the ball. He does his job. He blows me off and tells me to be quiet, and he gives it to me when he knows I need to have it. So, I mean, I had fun. I don't even really know what I'm answering at this point.
I love being wrong. Oh my gosh, I love it when I'm wrong. I absolutely love it. B sums it up in the chat.
Dude loves football, man.
Dude loves football. It's why it's such an incredible marriage between him and Kenny Dillingham and this coaching staff as well. And him just sitting down and being like, yeah, man, that was the most fun I've ever had in a football game because 300-pound dudes couldn't take me down. That's
for the whole game,
that is
dude.
such a baller thing to say. I mean, he had that look in his eyes. He probably could have gone for another quarter. He probably wanted to break, Benjamin's record. Like, he was out there having a great time, and he was doing it absolutely dominating this team.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine, sometimes I get to sit back and watch you enter the zone when we're podcasting.
Is that what it is?
And it's just like witnessing greatness up front. But to experience that yourself when you've been practicing at your craft for so long and you've been training for so long and you've gone through so many stops like Cam has, and you finally end up here at Arizona State. You have the season that they had last season. Everybody thinks you're going to suck this year. You're ranked 16th in the Big 12 polls. Nobody's giving you really any love because of the team that you're on and the type of notoriety they're getting. And you go out there, you show up, and you put on a freaking show. You don't just put on a show, but you put on the show.
Yeah.
I mean, that
was a headliner right there.
This is probably the best performance in the Big 12. One of the best performances in college football all this weekend.
This was outside.
Am I wrong?
This weekend, no. I would say this rushing performance, if we're talking Big 12 performances.
Yeah.
This, and strictly because there wasn't a lot of touchdowns from him, I would say this is 2 right behind what T-Mac did in week 1.
That's fair. That's fair. I think as far as rushing goes, obviously you're the second in school history now. I know the touchdowns were kind of lacking for sure, but you still put up 262 yards plus 35 in the air as well. You basically put up 300 all-purpose yards, which is pretty close to what T-Mac put up overall, right? Like that's not normal.
And I will say it's easier to do it through the air than it is on the ground.
Yeah, that's not normal. Especially
it's not normal.
Especially
He's not a normal guy, dude.
But especially when a team is expecting it. Like, this was not a surprise. This was Cam Skattebo carrying the ball 33 times in a game where they needed him. Yeah. Mississippi State knew exactly what Arizona State was trying to do. Yeah. And Cam Skattebo still made it work.
I mean, not only did he make it work, he made it thrive. This guy was dominant. There was nothing that Mississippi State could do from the start of the game to the end of the game. And, let's stop beating around the bush here. Let's go ahead. Let's get into bottle service from tonight's game. Like, I texted, I'll be honest with y'all, I texted Kyle at halftime. Cool. I told you who was going to be bottle service because there's nobody more deserving than Cam Skattebo getting bottle service tonight. 262 yards on the ground. The man averaged 7.9 yards per carry. Honestly, the 7.9 yards per carry for me, Erik, is probably more impressive than the 262 yards.
He was bouncing off dudes.
He was.
And he was picking up really, really tough yards. This was not just a defense that was letting them run free and rapid. Like when Mississippi State put up that amount of points against Eastern Kentucky in week 1, it was because Eastern Kentucky was literally letting them do whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
Cam had to earn every single yard today. And 7.9 per carry when you rush for 33 attempts is godlike.
Yeah.
It's, again, one of the best rushing performances in school history, one of the best performances in the Big 12 so far this season, probably one of the better rushing performances in Big 12 history. I'm not going to say it's like a top 10, top 15, but it's not often you see 262 yards.
No,
right?
Absolutely not. Absolutely
you don't
not.
just wake up and see that, on a normal day.
Scat 8 today. And look, we've given him a lot of flowers. The offensive line, like we talked a little bit about earlier, Lee Fautanu all the way down to Mad Max on the right side. Obviously, Cade Briggs, Ben Coleman, all those guys. Just a phenomenal job, right? Because Scat doesn't do this all on his own, despite what people think, despite what the numbers say. They don't give the offensive line credit, and it is what it is.
This doesn't happen without them.
No, and the offensive line has been more impressive over the first 2 weeks than I would. And I mean this. The offensive line has been more impressive to me over the first 2 weeks of this season than any position group on this team. People are going to talk about the running backs, and they're going to get their flowers. People are going to talk, obviously, on the defensive side of the ball about the linebackers, the D-line, the secondary. But guess what? We knew that. We knew that this defense was going to be good going into the season. And if you haven't been listening, that's a shame on you. We had been saying that this defense was going to be a problem.
We've been been pretty, like, I'm not even trying to pat us on the back, but like the things that we notice as far as trends go over spring, fall camp, everything.
It's almost like we go to practice. Huh?
They're coming to light.
Yeah.
But sometimes practice doesn't translate. And for this team, it feels like it is. Offensive line deserves so much credit. I love that there's competition for which room is doing the best.
Sean Nas coming back too.
Sean Nas coming back. He was supposed to be a massive part of this line too. Saga Tutulele is doing a fantastic job.
Yeah.
A really, really good job, because you don't just get offensive line play to the peak of what they can do based purely off talent alone.
Yeah.
That's not how that works. It has to be a complete unit. It has to be a bunch of guys working together in unison, mixing in and out, and protecting their quarterback. And again, this is a rush-heavy game. But they had a lot heavier of a passing offense against Wyoming, and they were able to protect for both.
Yeah.
Right? And obviously, Sam being able to use his legs definitely helps in that situation.
First touchdown of the game.
Before we get too far away from Cam's individual rushing yards, I have a fun fact for everybody here. There is 2 schools who show up multiple times right now on the top 10 rushers. This is before Cam was added, so technically one of these schools would be out. But before tonight, there were 2 schools that were repetitive as far as who ASU rushers ran against. Eno Benjamin, Benny Malone, and Delvin Flowers all rushed for over 200 yards against
Mississippi State?
Oregon State.
Oh, the poor Beavs.
Eno put 312 on Oregon State. Benny put 250 on Oregon State. And Delvin put up 226. And then there's another team that's gone twice. Art Malone in 1968. Put 239 on New Mexico. DJ Foster in 2014 tied for 10th. Now he's bumped down to 11th. Put up 216 against New Mexico. Just, I don't know. Something fun.
That's crazy.
Guess what? Add Mississippi State to the list.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Look, we do have a fourth member.
This is breaking
this
news.
PHNX Sun Devils team, who we've had on the show a ton of times, obviously talking about ASU softball, but she is the woman on the ground over at Mountain America Stadium.
Getting us these videos.
Getting us these awesome videos, asking questions at the press conference. So let's go ahead. Let's bring in ASU softball star and media member, Kelsey Hall, onto the show. Talk a little bit about the game. Kelsey, can you hear us? Just want to make sure.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear.
All
Kelsey, you were obviously in the post-game pressers, heard from Scat, the players, Kenny. Just what was the overall vibe like in that post-game press conference?
I would say everybody was really lighthearted, which was awesome because ignore that. But, sorry. Knowing how all they talked about was the passion within this team, and how even Cam specifically, he was almost too passionate sometimes. So you could have looked at how, I'm sure you guys talked about in that third, fourth quarter, it could have gone one way, and they could have hung their heads low there. But at the end of the day, I think they're really glad it ended the way they did, and they finished a lot stronger than they probably would have last year. So I think they're able to recognize that this team is just growing as a program.
Yeah, absolutely. For you, I know you had texted me. You're like, I asked a question. I want to hear what the question was, and I need to know the response.
Actually, I asked 2 questions.
Let's go!
Come on!
Let's go!
Come on!
And for the record, the last question I asked was probably the longest response we got from Coach Dilly. So it was a good one.
We're high-fiving each other
We're
for you.
high-fiving for you, Kelsey.
We're celebrating your victory.
Let's go. Right, but the first one, it was realistically in both the questions. I thought it was really important, especially in last week's press conference. They talked about the leadership and the mindset and always wanting to continue to grow. So I had asked the players what their thoughts were when things weren't going their way. How did they flip the script? And then that was when you got the answer of, when we had our O-line, our commercial break, we said, this is going to be the drive that sets the tone, finishes the game here. It's not what just happened. We have to be here present. So as we saw on the field, that's clearly what they executed. And then with Coach Dilly, it was something along the lines of talking about how leadership is so important, where realistically that game could have gone one of 2 ways. And he was the one that mentioned that last year it probably would have been a when it rains it pours type of moment. But how were we able to get out of that, everything's going wrong, whether it's bad penalty calls, whether they're now just applying pressures in ways they hadn't. How did we say, no, let's take a step back and let's go win a ball game? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I mean, that might be
really
the best.
develop.
That might be the best first two questions
I love
anybody's
it.
ever
I
asked
love
in a
it.
press
I
conference.
love
Those
it.
are
I love it.
like, I'm not, listen, I know that you're like on PHNX Sun Devils right now, but I'm not trying to just pat PHNX Sun Devils on the back, but those are really good questions. Also,
Right.
really, really good answers as well. I think, like we've mentioned, and we were talking about it when this game was getting in jeopardy, was you're going to learn a lot about this team. You're going to learn a lot about how they respond. And while it's hard maybe sometimes to watch your team go away from dominating somebody, you do learn so much
yeah.
about who you are and your makeup when it's
Absolutely.
bend, don't break. I mean, Kelsey, you know, as an athlete yourself, there is a lot of value in getting punched in the mouth and getting knocked on your back and getting back up. But what does that mean from a mentality side when you get to the other side and now you prove to yourself that you could take that knock and keep going?
I think it shows the resilience of all the work that you put in. I can't imagine for this group of guys, they're trying to grow from what they were last year. They, at the end of the day, they do have a lot of things to prove. And you can talk about Skattebo himself. Coach Dilly was talking about it in the press conference, how when Coach Dilly would say slide to finish the game last year against UCLA, he went and scored instead and then gave UCLA the opportunity to win that game. But this game, instead, what he did was he slid, then we were able to take a couple knees, and then we shut the door. So I think it just shows when you buy into the thought process and everything that you so desperately want to understand, when you finally see it work, it's like, okay, I can keep doing this and I can keep growing, not only physically, because this game and how they finished definitely wasn't just who was the most physical. As we saw at the end, everyone started getting tired. Mississippi State started getting more frustrated. It started getting a little more physically violent.
Yeah.
And so I think it ended up coming out on who was going to finish this game with a mental edge to shut it down.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Look, obviously, a lot of people are going to talk about Scat, and rightfully so. I think the nation, though, is really in love with CJ Fite and his big man touchdown that he had, obviously showing off his hands, his agility. The thick six is crazy.
Love it.
You can see that on ESPN Sports Center Top 10 for sure. Was he in the media availability afterwards?
Yes, and I was so bummed because he went to go for my question. One player answered it, and then he went to go answer it too, but then someone cut him off. But he actually talked about his touchdown, and what he said was, I was just playing how we practice. We always talk about on defense, if you see the ball, grab the ball.
Yeah.
The play might be over, but it's not over for you until we're completely whistles gone. So he literally just goes, I don't know, I just grabbed the ball. Like, that was literally his demeanor. And I think that it's such a positive to show. I might be attacked by this thing going on.
You're
back
good.
here.
You're good.
But I think it just shows the way that these guys aren't really putting a lot of these complex, intricate answers. It shows what everything Coach Dilly talked about last weekend in the press conference, how they practice is how they're playing.
Yeah.
All the mentality that they have in practice and all the little details that matter, that is what's making these games different. And Coach Dilly said that third, fourth quarter little lull was how they practiced on Tuesday. It was their subpar where they got comfortable. And that's what happened tonight. So I think it really shows that they're doing the right things in practice and just need to continue to buy in.
So
Yeah.
I want to tap back into that athlete side. Obviously, it's so unique to have a perspective of somebody who's played college athletics and gets in that mindset.
Yeah.
Obviously, ASU football, they practice like they're going to play, but something you can't replicate is fan support, energy in a stadium,
That's facts.
especially when it's a big game. I have these stats from Doug Tamaro. Student number tonight for as far as fans go was 10,478. That's the first time in ASU history with back-to-back games of 10K students.
Jeez.
And the best two-game start in student attendance in ASU history. It hits a little different, doesn't it? When you have a really, really strong crowd come out and support you, it makes you want to play a little harder.
Absolutely. Not to make it about softball, but I think back actually it was the football guys came to our game along with a bunch of other people. We were playing a night game against Ohio State, going back to back, and we ended up going 12 innings. But when the crowd was so invested, you had the football guys above our dugout singing our cheers, starting them actually, and so it just was getting us so much more invested as well. And it just makes you have an adrenaline that you don't even think about, and it really does elevate your game, your performance. It gets you invested. And so I think the crowd, we even talked about it when you guys were here, a lot of the student section stayed, which I thought was huge. We could have a little more stay, especially when it went the way it did. But at the end of the day, this game probably wouldn't have happened the way it did without the student section.
I love it. Absolutely love it. I know you can't see the chat. We had a few people in the chat just giving you kudos, asking you questions, saying you're doing a great job out there, Kelsey.
Thanks,
so
guys.
we really appreciate you, obviously, being down there and doing all the hard work that you do. For everybody in the chat that wants to follow Kelsey on social, you could do that at Kels Hall. That is KELSSHAALL. Kelsey, we appreciate you, obviously, as always. Now, go home, enjoy the rest of your Saturday night. Or is Sunday morning yet? It's Sunday morning.
It is. It's midnight.
Enjoy Sunday.
Late night Sun Devils.
Goodness
All right.
gracious.
Thanks, guys.
Kelsey.
Bye,
We
everybody.
appreciate you. Obviously,
Bye.
again, give Kelsey a follow on social. Eric.
Dude, she did great.
She did phenomenal.
And those are like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm not trying to like just juice things up for no reason. Those were some legitimately good questions.
All year long, right here, PHNX Sun Devils. Kelsey Hall, a part of the squad.
There's no post-game show like this.
Nah.
We just have fun, but you're not gonna get insight and analysis like that anywhere else. Big shout out to Kelsey. Good questions. Way to relay the vibes.
Yeah,
of what's
absolutely,
going on
absolutely.
in the press conference. Things are just different here at PHNX Sports. Part of that is the diehards.
Oh yeah,
as well. We were chatting up with all the diehards during the entire game, even when there was some television problems and some people couldn't watch the game because some things were happening that were less than savory on that end. And we were keeping people up to date in our Die Hard Discord. Plus, I want to remind people, of course, you get the Die Hard Discord, you get exclusive content, exclusive video content, exclusive written content as well. But one thing that we've been doing for people is at these games, I am down on the field pregame and I'm sending an almost annoying amount of videos of teams warming up, first looks at opposing teams, the tunnel run out, everything like that. So if you're not in our
Discord was popping.
Discord, yeah, it was popping. And if you're not in there and you absolutely
should be
love the Sun Devils and you want to get up close to the game, maybe you live in another state. We have tons of diehards who are like that. Maybe you live in another city that's like Sharon as well. Or maybe you just can't make it out to a game. We'll give you a firsthand experience of what it is like to be there and to be so close and in the action, as ASU now looks to be 3-0. Obviously, we can't be there against Texas State because it's on the road, but definitely jump in there if you want. It's a fantastic time. There's no place like it.
I mean, look, and we'll get to Mike's comment in a little bit. He's talking about Colorado, Arizona, Utah. We'll get to that. We'll get to that at the end of the show. But look, let's talk about it for a quick second before we dive right back into the game. We can zoom out and just what this team is right now. And this team right now is 2-0.
Yes.
This team is undefeated in the grand scheme of college football in the Big 12 right now. And there's a lot of football teams out there that just simply can't say that. No. And I don't want that to get lost in the way that the third quarter and change was played. Because again, it's not an easy thing to go out there and beat an SEC team. I don't care if it's Mississippi State. I don't care if it's Vanderbilt, right? It's not an easy thing to do to start off 2-0. And this is a team which, Eric, when we got in the car, you were talking a little bit about it, right? Talking about just the amount of defensive transfers specifically that were giant contributors on this team. A Keyshawn Elliott, and Xavier Alford, a Javen Robinson starting on the perimeter at corner as well. And this is coming off a three-win season.
Yeah.
Arizona State at this point has 66% of the wins that they had all of last season.
Dude, that's so crazy. That hasn't even hit me yet.
And
saying that just hit me. That's crazy.
We're in the first weekend of September.
Dude, and not only that, but as far as turnovers go, it took 4 games for ASU to force a turnover on defense. Right?
Last year, yeah.
Last year. This year, it took 5 seconds. And
It really did,
I'm
bro.
not even exaggerating. It's so much fun, and there's so much to improve on as well, which gets you even more excited. But you're right. This team is 2-0 in 2 different types of games.
Oh, yeah.
But 2 games where there wasn't a moment where they were not in control. Sure, Mississippi State was driving. Sure, Mississippi State found the rhythm, but ASU was always in the lead. And it was mostly a 2-score game until right at the end when ASU was able to put it away with a drive of their own. Like, that is such an incredible combination to the fact where you really can get what you need out of this team and step up and adapt to any situation. And if we talk about this defense and we talk about the transfers, I don't like focusing too far ahead, especially when you know, ASU is 2-0 right now. We mentioned a lot of people missing on this defense as well. Of course, you'll never be fully healthy in football. That's just not how it works.
Yeah.
But you're going to get some more players back. When Prince Dorba comes back, you mentioned it, it's going to be fun. But this is a team that you expected a little bit of a learning curve.
Don't let Kenny cook.
the bat,
Damon in the
right?
chat saying, all right, boys, relax.
What
Listen, man,
are we saying?
you beat
that we
the
need to
Lumberjacks
relax?
by 12 points. Let's fucking
Barely.
Let's calm down. Let's calm down on the whole relax thing.
What are we saying that's out of pocket right now?
Nothing.
Like, then drop in the chat, Damon. Let me know what I'm saying that's out of pocket. Listen, you do this type of revamp of your defense. You get a facelift. You do a complete 180. Literally, a complete 180 after a 3-win season. You already have 2 this season. The sky is the limit. I'm not saying they're going to win the Big 12, but boy, they're looking a lot better than many people predicted them to be. And guess what? Tons of recruits were in and commits were in that building tonight at Tempe watching this game, watching this win. What are they going to do in the transfer portal and the recruiting classes and everything when they already had such a successful offseason?
Yeah.
After 3 wins, I will tell you what, they get 3 wins this season, I'll get a tattoo.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get a tattoo. I'll get a PHNX Sun Devils tattoo.
Look, I know there's a lot of people in the chat that want to talk about Sam Levitt and his performance. We'll get to that here in a second. But first, I want to get to the Sanderson Ford drive of the game. Football is back, and so are the deals at Arizona's largest Ford dealership, Sanderson Ford. Shop America's most awarded Ford dealership with no hassle, no pressure, and no nonsense. Look, we were going back and forth trying to figure out, as the game was kind of going on, hey, what would be the drive of the game here? And for me, I don't think you can point to a single drive outside of that last drive that really cements the importance of what Arizona State did tonight. Arizona State, on the final drive of the game, got the ball back with 5 minutes and 27 seconds to play. And what did they do? They went 50 yards, 12 plays, milked the clock, and put the game to bed.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I mean, if that doesn't tell you that when this team needs it, that they can go out there and they can go get and put a game away, then nothing else will. Because being able to do that after Mississippi State had been stepping on the gas for the last quarter and change, and for you to just say, you know what, we've had enough.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna send you back to Starkville.
Yeah. Listen, we were messaging back in the Discord, not to just go back to that, but every time at the end of the game when offense or defense was going out, I was in there saying this is a big possession.
Yeah, and it was every time.
You need the offense to step up. You need the defense to step up. And to be honest, they both had some lackluster moments, some penalties, some 3-and-outs, things that were not great at that time. Things that made you go, okay, is this what this team is going to be like when they get punched in the mouth? Because that's all you really had to go off of.
Yeah.
And then it's that final drive. Right. And it's that final drive. It's Cam Skattebo, and it's putting the team on his back, and it's the coaches making the right decisions. And let's talk about that slide at the end as well.
Homie slide.
Well, yeah.
I'm talking about Sam.
Sam did slide. He didn't pick up the first down. He didn't slide for the rest of the game. He did slide thanks to your question.
That's what I do, man.
Not your demand, really.
I mean, it was a favor.
It was a demand. Can you slide? Can you slide for me, please? But Cam's unselfish slide at the end of the game, we talk about his lack of touchdowns. He could have probably got one.
He could have. Oh, he could have on that last play. He could have easily.
And he slid at the end to run out the clock and to get closer to a victory. And that's just kind of the tone that's set here in Tempe. Damon responds to what I asked earlier, says freaking out about 66.7% of last year's wins, standards in the core of the earth. Listen, we both gave our win predictions. We both thought what this team was going to do. I'm not saying that the standard was to get 66% of last year's wins, but when you're looking at how a program can flip in a year and how you can have 3 wins one year and now you're 2-0 to start this season in dominant fashion week 1 and in controlling fashion in week 2 against an SEC team for the first time in your school's history, I'd say that's a lot better than, I don't know, letting New Mexico put up 39 points on your defense and then NAU leading for basically a majority of your game.
There was a point
out to beat the Lumberjacks.
And this is what I'll say is so we had GM Saul Bookman. He was at the ASU game with us, and he was obviously keeping track of the NAU game. And this is when NAU, I think, had taken a 10-3 lead, I think, at one point, and we were giving him some crap. And he was like, there's a lot of game left.
But
and what was my response?
You're already talking about this.
My response was, it's NAU. We shouldn't have to talk about there's a lot of game left.
Yeah.
You should be up a ton of points right now.
You should.
There's no reason this should be close.
There should never be a time when U of A beats or plays NAU where you think to yourself, oh, well, we just got to have a good second half.
We got a lot of game left.
Yeah, we just got to have a good second half.
Watch out, the Lumberjacks, okay?
I believe that we're going to have a good second half. Duh, you should have had a good first half.
Come on.
NAU.
Come on,
no
man.
disrespect, but kind of.
No, disrespect. Disrespect, man.
It's NAU, man.
Disrespect.
It's
Come
NAU.
on. Come on now.
You know what? I think let's take a little bit of a break. Let's take a break here and let's come back. Let's talk about maybe the other Pac-12 schools and former Pac-12 schools, now Big 12 schools, and how they did this week. And then, of course, we'll get back to this.
Yeah, we still got some post-game sound to get into with some fun stuff.
But we'll continue this thought right after this break. Now, I have to tell you, in my cup right here, I like to keep it cold, so I got it in this thermos. I got me some neutral, baby. Because we're keeping it tasty in Tempe. It's a public service announcement for all hard seltzer lovers. Neutral Vodka Seltzer has arrived, made with simple ingredients like vodka, seltzer, and real juice. None of that fake stuff. And guess
None
what?
of it.
You could taste it because it's real good. Like, really good.
Do you hear this? Just a little ASMR.
Sip it. Sip that for me. Pretty bad ASMR, but pretty good
wait.
in that cup. There
That's all that matters, right?
Is so
Kyle,
good,
I know you love that in the headphones.
And we're getting a lot of ASMR on PHNX Sun Devils. They have a lot of flavors: pineapple, watermelon, black cherry, orange, and more. I know that we're fiending to get our hands on the orange one. We don't have our hands on that.
I want to try it.
But Neutral keeps it tasty. Just remember to enjoy it responsibly. Of course, an Anheuser-Busch product. Neutral is flavored vodka and carbonation out of St. Louis, Missouri.
Also, NFL football is back. Like, we are in the season, and you got a full slate of games going on tomorrow.
Halftime, postgame right here, PHNX Sports.
Look, the Arizona Cardinals, I think, are going to be better than people think.
Just like
I'm going
the
to be
Sun
honest.
Devils.
I'm going to be honest. I think the Cardinals are going to be better than a lot of people think. Shout out Damon, the Cardinals producer.
The People's producer.
In
Hold
the
line.
chat. I know PHNX as a company, we're going to have a ton of watch parties over at Gila River Resorts Casinos. Definitely stay locked in. Go check those out because nobody does it better than Gila River Resorts Casinos. We had our fantasy draft there, obviously, a couple weeks ago. It was an absolute baller time. I know we had people staying even after that draft was over, just hanging out at the casino, having drinks. It was an absolute blast. They got a ton of different locations, Wild Horse Pass, Lone Butte. They got a ton of them. Go check them out, whether you're there for the food, the drinks, the vibes, or to make a little dough. You can go all in with over 4,500 slots and live table games, or catch all the action at any of their sports books. Guys, football season is back. So PHNX is going to be hosting events there all year, including Cards and Suns watch parties.
Right. Oh, Suns. I'm so excited for Suns season.
More. Okay.
More?
So stay tuned for info on how you guys can come hang out at Gila River Resorts Casinos. Just remember, you do you at Gila River Resorts Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details.
So let me ask you,
Ask me.
since you do you, not just at
I
Gila,
do
but
me.
also here, Where do you want to do? You want to continue Arizona, Colorado, maybe a little bit of Utah talk, or do you want to get into some post-game sound? We're going to do both.
Yeah.
We're going to do both, but which one would you like to do first?
Well, out of respect, we can obviously put the Colorado funeral at the tail end of the show, obviously in honor and memoriam
of that really great
national championship season. We'll do that. We'll save the Wildcats and the Kittens for the end as well.
What are you going to do when you're playing Patrick Mahomes, right?
Look,
you
that's
can only
fair.
do so much.
That's fair. Look, I just, again, hit that like button, man.
113 people in here now.
I love it. We're having a good time.
We've been keeping it steady throughout all of this. Everybody, your support is fantastic. We really, every single one of you in here, we appreciate you. But those of you who haven't hit the like button, I'm going to be honest with you.
Just do us a solid, man.
We appreciate you a little bit less, but it could be easily fixed.
I still love you.
I love you. Don't get it twisted.
Just know. My love is unconditional.
I love you.
Okay, just know that.
It's a little bit, but it's not.
Yours is a little bit conditional, man.
But listen, man, it's because we're all here and just show some love. We have the Kenny leave a likes popping up. We have the Cam Skattebo leave a likes. If you're not leaving a like for Cam Skattebo, I mean, what are you doing? Listen, I love all of you. I love all of you. Let's
just know I love you more.
No,
it's true.
No, listen, I love you because I have realist. Listen, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Okay, I'm going to be real with you the same way Kenny is real with all of his players. I'm going to be real with you. I'm going to tell you, what we could do to make our relationship stronger. Because at the end of the day, that's all I want. And 5 more people just hit the like button. Let me tell you, I'm proud of you.
Are you done?
I'm proud of you.
Are you finished?
Can we listen? Can we hear some postgame?
Yeah, I want to get into what Kenny Dillingham had to say in terms of Arizona State having a historic night, a historic win for the program. Let's go ahead. Let's listen into what Coach KD had to say about tonight's win.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. But like I told our guys in the locker room, I didn't even know that stat until Doug told me a week ago. We didn't hey, let's train really hard to be the first team. No, we didn't do that. We did it to be the very best team we could possibly be, and we play in 5 days. So I told them, celebrate, you should. Have fun, celebrate with each other, be smart, make good decisions, right? When you wake up tomorrow, it's over. You get your morning to get all your retweets in, right? Do your retweets, do your little Insta quotes, and do all your stuff that you want to do, right? That feels really, really good. And then later in the week, we'll do our little recap. We post out how great we were, right? And that's it. That's all you get. You have till tomorrow when we get back to work, right, at about 2 o'clock to really celebrate this thing. And then we're going to put it to bed, move on to Texas State, and then you get one more little quote tweet of the cool little video we post, right? And we're moving on because we got a really good team we play on Thursday night.
BC in the chat, 5 days. Yeah, it's a short week on the road. First road test of the season. Arizona State traveling to take on Texas State, which is not going to be a gimme game. Obviously, Kenny's saying, look, enjoy it. Enjoy it till about 2 o'clock in the morning when you guys are all sore and iced up in bed after a good meal. And then when you wake up bright and squirrely tomorrow, it's time to prep. It's time to prep. And that's what, I get the history. I get all it. But I want you guys to really be able to listen to what Kenny Dillingham says versus what previous coaches at Arizona State have said in terms of the standard of this program. There was a lot of people dogging on me and you talking about our belief in Kenny Dillingham. There were people that were ready to write him off after a 3-9 season when we said, hey, just dig in, believe. And Kenny has never been a head coach before. Kenny has coached as an offensive coordinator and a quarterback coach for elite programs. He's had elite offenses. And I just again, I'm not saying that this is all Kenny, but I want you to look around the nation right now where Kenny Dillingham is gone. Florida State, which, again, Kenny wasn't there last year, wasn't there the year before. Jordan Travis was the quarterback at Florida State, which made that train go. And Kenny was a big part in getting Jordan Travis mentally back to where he needed to be as a quarterback. Right now, Mike Norvell is struggling to get Florida State moving in the right direction, starting 0-2. I don't know if they played today. And then you look on the opposite side of the country, and you look at the Oregon Ducks. And the Oregon Ducks, again, Kenny wasn't there last year. He was the year before. Brought Bo Nix back to life. His career, obviously, Bo played a massive part in Bo's success, but Kenny was obviously a big part of that. Their relationship, him as just a coach and an offensive coordinator. That Oregon offense through 2 weeks doesn't look like the same Oregon offense that it was going with when Bo Nix was there, when Kenny Dillingham was there. Now you bring Kenny to ASU, first-time head coach. You don't just lose that. You don't just lose the ability to coach. You don't just lose your knowledge of football because you get promoted from offensive coordinator to head coach. Kenny Dillingham wants to make Arizona State a powerhouse. Kenny Dillingham doesn't care about 2-0. I'll tell you that right now. If you haven't learned this, Kenny Dillingham doesn't care about 2-0. He doesn't care about 3-0. He doesn't care about 4-0. Kenny Dillingham wants the absolute best football players in the nation to be sporting maroon and gold. He doesn't care if he's got to recruit them at the high school level. He doesn't care if he's got to recruit them out of a fancy new portal that the NCAA just invented a couple years ago. He wants to build something that ASU fans have never seen in their lives. And guess what? That's going to take some time. So we're going to enjoy 2-0. We're going to spend a little bit longer on 2-0 than 2 in the morning. Okay, because we don't have to be out there in shoulder pads and helmets on Thursday.
Texas State on Thursday.
But just know that this isn't the goal. Okay,
No.
We say 5-7, 6-6, 7-5. We say that's a great year. Kenny Dillingham says, nah, man.
The expectation should always be higher, and it is. And Kenny Dillingham was born to be a head coach.
Yeah.
Kenny Dillingham was put on this earth to be the head coach at Arizona State University. I am not 100% sure about many things in my life. I am 100% sure that Kenny Dillingham was put here on this planet to coach this football team, to be at this school, and to do it here.
Your marriage is still cool, right?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I didn't say nothing else.
No, I know. You said a few things. I just want to make sure that you know everything was good at home.
Yeah, it is.
That's good. I
Thank you.
I just want to checking in on fam, you know?
Kenny Dillingham and PHNX is the place to go.
I love it. I love short bus. Boys, I just got home. I got 6 Jack in the Box tacos. I'm ready to go.
We saw our diehard short bus out there. He got
awesome.
season tickets.
I love that guy,
awesome.
man.
Got
I
to
love
say
that guy.
hi, catch up with him. Of course, you're in our Discord. You're at any of the games or anything, let us know. We will come say hi.
Yeah, absolutely.
We love all of you guys. I know we're talking about Kenny, but you mentioned something about Texas State and playing on Thursday, and of course he did as well. In our chat, Sharon says she hates that this game's on Thursday. She hates the home and home with Texas State. I am in the complete opposite boat. I am going to continue my theme. Wyoming, perfect week 1 opponent.
Dub.
Mississippi State, perfect week 2 opponent.
Dub.
Texas State on a short week, perfect week 3 opponent. Because listen, you just got punched in the mouth in game. In game, you got punched in the mouth. You survived it. You moved on with a win, right? You did something you had never done in program history before. You beat an SEC team.
You did.
Now you're going to another team where you will be favored. It is your first road game of the season. You are already down a couple defenders and some offensive firepower as well. And you're going to play a Texas State team that's better than a lot of people are going to give them credit for.
Yeah.
And you're going to go into their house, and you know what you need to do? You need to punch them in the mouth. You need to go out and you need to respond. This is a fantastic test. When I say the perfect week 3, I don't mean it's the easiest. I don't mean it's the most likely to get a win. I mean it's perfect for seeing what this team is made of.
I'm here for it.
And this team is made of what Kenny Dillingham is made of. And I'm pretty confident in that football team.
I am too, man. I am too. Look, offensively, you know, Sam Levitt had his issues. We'll get into that here in a second. But I want to get back to the defensive side of the ball because his defense has been lights out. CJ Fite, obviously, Kelsey was out at that
The
press
thick
conference
6.
and was able to just get his thoughts on the whole thing. But I want to hear from CJ himself just on his touchdown tonight. So let's go ahead. Let's hear from the man that is taking the nation really all over the place.
Touchdown you've ever scored? I mean, in practice, we set a standard on defense. Anytime the ball comes out, go pick it up. So I saw the ball, I just went and got it. It wasn't really too much. I just saw the ball, and I was close to the end zone, so I tried to stick inside the pylon. So I looked, stared at the refs. He called touchdown. I got happy.
Right here. I mean, listen, you can underplay it all you want. Somebody that size, that stature, being light of foot, having the presence of mind to reach over the pylon. Listen, they won this game by 7 points.
Yeah, that's true.
This was not some fancy play that ball. They were already up 20.
Hey, they covered, bro.
They covered, right? And listen, it wasn't the only reason why they won this game, but don't get it twisted. It was a massive reason.
Yeah.
Right? That was a huge play. The presence of mind. This team showed it in game 1. They showed it in game 2. They are a hawk to the ball.
Yeah.
Right?
Hawk
Especially
to
when
him, man.
Stop. Get out of here. I knew when I said that, I was like, I really hope he doesn't go there. I really hope he doesn't go there.
I had to go there.
But here's the thing. you know, that shows, it's coaching, right? Because at the end of the day, you have to have the awareness, and it is on the players to have that presence of mind. But you have that presence of mind because your coaching staff has drilled that in you, and Kenny drilled that in you. Hey, you need to flock to the ball. I'm not saying that word again. You need to flock to the ball, and you need to get on it when it's loose. And they've done that 2 games in a row, and they forced turnovers, and they've scored on defense 2 games in a row. If you're getting points out of your defense every game, you're going to be in a good position.
You're right.
Right? And that was like CJ Fite. Don't get this twisted. CJ Fite went viral.
He did.
We're talking massive media outlets. We're talking everybody from the Big 12 to every other media outlet that you are probably thinking of right now. And of course, PHNX.
I mean, we tweeted it.
Of course, and probably first, honestly. But he went everywhere. Oh, the hashtag thick 6, big man touchdown. Love a big man touchdown. Oh, he's so agile. He's jumping over. He's reaching over the pylon. It was a moment, right? And listen, it was kind of fun. Arizona State, and this is a little bit off of CJ, Arizona State was kind of in the spotlight tonight. Their jerseys were getting a lot of national recognition. Of course, their play is being noticed, and then they have a viral play in CJ Fite going and getting I'm not going to stop saying it, the thick 6.
Yeah.
You know, it's an incredible name. And that's something that, again, was missing last year. And that is something that you can rally on, right? Like, don't think an offense doesn't get fired up when a defensive lineman
you're right. Absolutely.
It and goes for 6.
100%. Look, let's talk about Sam Levitt, but I want to give y'all some massive credit to the 120 plus that we have watching right now. It's obviously 12:25 right now. Shout out all of y'all, whether you're watching from the East Coast, watching right now live, you're listening on audio. We appreciate you getting this far. Again, we do this just about every single day of the week, talking about your Arizona State Sun Devils football, basketball when it rolls around, off season. It doesn't really matter.
We'll be here Monday.
We will
1:30.
absolutely be here Monday, and
Tomorrow,
we got some stuff. We got some stuff cooking on Monday. We're still figuring out when we want to drop what we got cooking. But don't you worry, we got some fun stuff. Deciding if you want to save it for the bye week or what we want to do with it.
You are not gonna believe.
No,
you are not gonna believe.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
We are going to be talking to this week. Of course, we'll announce that on PHNX Sun Devils.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can follow us at PHNX_Sun Devils. You can, stay up to date, not just with that, but I think we have some pretty good content during games and stuff.
I think so.
Keep yourself in the loop. We have a comment in the chat from Drew. It was a while up. He just asked, are we good? Like he's being genuine. He likes what he's seeing, but he's like, are we good? I honestly cannot tell at this point. He said he likes the physicality. Do you have an answer to that?
I don't think there's a team in the country that after 2 weeks can confidently say they're good.
Okay.
Outside of
good or great. That's the thing. I'm not going to go out here and say this is like the greatest team on earth.
Well, look, let's outside of Georgia and Ohio State, who, mind you, haven't played anybody, right? Texas, I would say, is a good team. I don't know if Miami ended up winning today. I'm sure they did.
Yeah, Miami was absolutely dominating.
I think there are confidently 5 or 6 teams in the country that after 2 weeks that have played at somebody that can say, hey, we're good. Right. But even look at Alabama. That final score doesn't reflect how that game was going.
No.
That was 14-13 for the majority of the second half.
Notre Dame lost today.
Notre Dame lost today to a Northern Illinois
Colorado
team.
Lost.
Look, it's week 2. It's early. You've got a better team now. What I will say to you, Drew, is you have a better team now after 2 weeks than you did last year after 2 weeks. You have a better team now after 2 weeks than you did the year before after 2 weeks. That's what I can tell you confidently as of right now.
Much better.
Much better.
Again, this team looks nothing like it did last season. Obviously, Cam looks the same.
The Hilty's got it.
But he said, I can't say ASU is good yet, but I can say with 100% certainty this team is better than last year. Like you mentioned earlier with Kenny, this is all going to come with growth. This is going to come with time. We talk about bamboo, and we talk about, hey, it's going to take time to really build roots. And I've always compared it to, you look at Colorado right now, this is a beautiful time to kind of compare these two. Not that we need to jump into that, but there's microwaving a college football program, and there's putting that thing in the oven. Okay?
That thing.
One is going to get hotter a lot faster, even maybe hotter than if you put it in the oven. And you're going to be eating quick, but it's not going to be as satisfying of a meal.
Yeah.
And you're not going to really, it's going to be like, okay, it was fine. I got the job done, right? Then there's putting it in the oven. Takes 10, 15, 20 times longer.
Takes some time.
It takes a lot longer, right? You got to preheat the oven. You got to put it in there. You got to, flip it around depending on what you're making. And Kenny Dillingham is baking a program at Arizona State University And Deion Sanders has microwaved the program in Colorado.
Dang.
And you're seeing what's happening. You're seeing a team that's falling off under year 2 in Deion, that there's infighting, there's problems, there's bad coaching, there's on-field, off-field problems not being addressed. And you get ran by Nebraska today. Absolutely fully dominated.
Yeah, run out the gym.
And then listen, this isn't a team we're going to go out there and say is the best in the Big 12. We're not going to go out there and predict an undefeated season or anything of that nature. But a team that's overperformed expectations 2 weeks in. A team that's quite frankly dominated through 6 quarters.
I mean, yeah, Arizona State, let's just, again, 2-0. Better than 2-0 is they haven't trailed at a certain point. They haven't trailed at all in this season.
And they're not playing Troy. There you go.
There you
Brought
go.
it up again. They're
That's
not playing
crazy.
Troy.
Troy's taking
Wyoming's
shots 2 weeks
maybe
in a row.
not great. And maybe they're
Did they end up losing to Idaho?
I think
They were favored. They were
lost.
favored in that game against Idaho.
Let me see.
MC in the chat. Hurley have
They
any
lost
recruits
17-13.
in? Hurley was at that game, I believe.
Were there any recruits?
I don't know if
there
there were recruits, but I think Jaden Quaintance was there.
Was
I
Quaintance there?
think the 5-star freshman center Jaden Quaintance was in attendance.
no big deal.
But yeah. I mean that's still crazy to say.
Which of
It's
ASU
just-
basketball's
it was the
5-star
center,
was
not
there?
the guard.
Oh,
you know?
my bad. I got confused because when you said
Oh, man.
5-star, I thought of both of them.
Oh goodness, I absolutely love it. Look, again, Sam Levitt tonight. Let's go ahead. Let's dive into Sam Levitt tonight because obviously the numbers from Sam, there's a lot to be desired there, right? Again, the passing game wasn't really on anyone's radar tonight after the game. It was obviously all about Scat, the defense. But Levitt, 10-20 tonight, so 50% completion percentage, 69 yards through the air. Didn't turn it over, which is obviously a big thing. Again, 20 passes, only completed 10 of them. We'll give what we kind of thought on the entire performance. But first, let's go ahead. Let's see what Sam Levitt had to say just in terms of what he needs to improve on heading into Texas State next week.
O-line and, Scat, they won us a game. So all props to them.
Good one, you guys.
Got all love for them. There's a lot of things I need to clean up. Need to get out of my head in the second half and get in the rhythm. But I mean, overall, going to be a lot of things to clean up. But
Grab that. This one too? Or just yours? Oh, there we go.
Okay, so if you're just listening on audio and you're like, what the heck is going on? Basically, there was people, media members who were recording on audio on their phone, and Sam was talking kind of quietly, and so one of the players off screen started throwing the phones in front of Sam. A couple things I liked from him: giving credit to the offensive line and Scat as well, and the rhythm thing.
Yeah, exactly.
The rhythm thing Kenny mentioned as well. It's really hard for a quarterback to get in a rhythm when you ran the ball as many times as they did today. Now, granted, even when he was making some throws, there were things that, there were things he had to clean up.
Stop laughing, Kyle.
I tweeted it, right? We talked about it throughout the entire week and everything. There was a couple things that Sam had to rein in. Of course, we talk about the pure arm power he has and how he has to hone that. A couple decisions, couple reads were missed. That could have been a first down, but these are the growing pains that are to be expected from your redshirt freshman quarterback.
Redshirt freshman,
right? This is the second full game of football he's played in quite some time, right? And week 1 against Wyoming was nearly perfect, right? But you can't expect that every single week.
No.
And this was a much better team. And listen, your running back had 262 yards. You're not gonna avoid going to him just to get Sam in rhythm. So. Is it something that people need to freak out over? Absolutely not.
Nah.
Is the book closed on Sam Levitt and can he not get better? Absolutely not. This kid's going to get better every single time that he plays, right? And maybe his stat lines won't be continually up, but it'll be up and down depending on the opponent, but he himself will get better every game.
Yeah.
Because we talked to him earlier this week. If you missed that, we had QB1 in studio for about 10 minutes on Thursday. That's separate up on our YouTube channel right now. Talk to him about week 1, what he needed to do in week 2, and just the overall vibe of this program, message to Sun Devil Nation, relationship with Kenny Dillingham, everything like that. He has a good head on his shoulders. He's self-aware. He understands what he needs to do better, which I asked him, and he gave a very thoughtful answer as well. You're going to grow with Sam Levitt, and that growing is going to have a couple games that leave something to be desired, but that certainly doesn't mean 3, 4, 5 weeks from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, he can't improve on those things. And if he does, we're looking at what, Cam Newton, right? We're looking at the Lamar Jackson. I mean, listen, I'm joking, obviously, but at the same time, he is really, really good at using his feet. He has the
second leading rusher on the team.
Yeah, has the natural talent. He has the instinct as well. He needs to clean up some things, hone in his arm power, make a couple more reads. Oh, is he 20 yet? I don't think he's 20
I don't think
yet.
he's 20 yet.
I think he's 19.
But look,
give him time.
This is a kid that, again, was second leading rusher on this team, 11 carries, 68 yards, and he found the end zone twice on the ground.
Sam Levitt was born in 2004, folks.
Oh, my gosh.
And
That's so gross.
He didn't lead the team, but he was the starting quarterback for the team in their first ever victory over an SEC school.
He had almost 3 times the rush yards that Mississippi State had as a team by himself.
And that, let's not get it twisted. That's really important.
Yeah.
And this is a team that ran the ball a lot. He was able to do that. BC in the chat says Josh Allen.
A little smaller.
If everything goes right, he could be a college version
Yeah, look,
of Josh Allen.
he's got the arm. He is smaller than Josh. I think, again, you saw the overthrows tonight. Jordan Tyson won, Jake Smith, both of which could have probably been touchdowns. Again, those would have had to been pretty perfect balls for that to actually happen. But it's something that we had seen in camp, spring ball, fall, whatever you want to talk about. Is he's got the arm talent. And I put it in the Discord as one of the overthrows happened, right? Like, you'd rather have a quarterback overthrow than underthrow, just be able to get that. Over time, that chemistry will get there. The rhythm will get there. And the rhythm is the next thing that I want to just dive a little bit into because, again, we saw it and we talked about it on some of the shows leading into the season that this is a guy that when he's going in rhythm, you saw it against Wyoming. When he's in rhythm, he is a tough quarterback to deal with because not only does he go through his progressions, he's got the arm talent to beat you. And when those aren't there, he's going to take off and he's probably faster than you think he is. We saw that tonight. And then you get to a game where really in the third quarter, where it's, again, not just him, but really the offense as a whole, you're not really able to get into that rhythm. And for him, it like you said, like Kenny said, it's difficult to get in a rhythm when you run the ball 57 times as a team. It'll come. You just got to give it some time. This is a young kid. He's a young quarterback. He's a really, really talented, smart dude who loves football. And he's gonna put it together. This offense is gonna get it together. And again, like Kenny reminded Sam after the press conference tonight, because Sam obviously, he would have loved to have a better game.
He's not. He's self-aware.
You're 2-0.
You're 2-0.
It's okay.
Right. And if you swap these two games, week 1 and week 2, you'd be talking about, wow, Sam Levitt, look how much he improved. Right. Like, let's just keep things in perspective here, right? He still had that incredible week 1. He still went out there and absolutely dominated Wyoming. And there was somebody in the chat who said, I want him to be more patient, watch the plays develop. I don't want him to use his legs as much. It seems like he panics. I get that, Matthew in the chat saying that. I understand that, and I am not saying that you're wrong. But when you are in his position and you know that you have the ability to pick up 7-8 yards, I mean, let's not get it twisted here. It's not like he chooses to go on the ground and it's like a head-scratching move. What are you doing? It's a legitimate threat and a legitimate weapon. Now, it shouldn't be his number 1 weapon, but it's certainly something that he can put out there, and it's something that he can really rely on. I'm not really surprised that he defaults to that at this moment in time, right? If we're talking by the end of the season, he's doing the same thing. It's a different conversation.
Oh, yeah.
But it's week 2. And we even saw it in Wyoming. There wasn't a moment where they got punched in the mouth. He didn't play in the fourth quarter, really, right? So you're not sitting there and there's momentum against you and the other defense. It's not just about momentum on offense, but it's about your opposing defense having momentum as well. Yeah. Right. And they knew that they could stop the pass, and they knew the ASU was going to run. Right. And ASU was still able to rush the ball like 7 straight times at the end of the game. And Sam Levitt was smart enough to know, like, I'm not going to force it. No. Right. I'm not going to just try to do something that I shouldn't do. Now, I want him to have that confidence in his arm, and I want him to make those throws. And I'm being completely honest with everybody here. I genuinely think by the end of the season that he will be making those throws. I was telling you when he was targeting Jake Smith on those deep balls, he's going to hit one of those in the next week or two.
And all it really only takes one.
Right. And I think that is going to be when people start thinking about the negatives of everything and more about what positives can come from this. Because again, like, you're hoping that Sam Levitt is here for a couple of years, right? Yeah. And you're hoping that this is something he only gets better. That's all that I expect from him, is that he will get better. If he's able to put touch on these passes, medium, long range, and even those deep balls, you're talking about a threat that ASU is going to really, really benefit from. Yeah. And somebody who can be one of the better quarterbacks in the Big 12. Like, that's what you're talking about if Sam Levitt cleans these things up.
You're right.
Of course, he's not there yet, but 2004. It's more than
Hey, you got
2004.
patience with Kenny. Have patience with your quarterback. Okay, Will in the chat. As much as his arm needs a fine tuning, his immaculate pocket presence. It's not like he's scrambling with a clean pocket or making one read and bolting. Absolutely not. He looks solid. He looks like a solid quarterback. So again, I know tonight you wish you saw a little bit more from Sam, and the game probably goes a little bit smoother on the back end.
And that's understandable.
But again, the second career start for Arizona State to have the performance that he's had over 2 weeks, you absolutely are taking that.
B's in the chat, and I'm interested in your thoughts on this. Says the instincts are there. You can't teach that. Intangibles. I would much rather through 2 weeks have a quarterback who's this young, who's this athletic, who has this type of build and this type of tools in his bag, with the promise and the potential to get better than somebody who I know exactly what you're going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, there are things that we see in the press box, right? Again, from our angle, it's a little bit better view of the entire field, but there are plays that Sam makes that you're like, wow, like you sit there and you're like, wow, like that scramble for a 17-yard touchdown. He was freezing, I believe, a corner off the edge, and then somebody else on the edge of that, and being able to go out there and scramble and dive for the touchdown, like that's a big play. And then you obviously talk about the overthrows, and that is what it is. But overall, this kid, in terms of pocket presence, and I tweeted earlier in the week just how impressed I was with a couple of his plays in the pocket. Like it really is phenomenal. He's not scrambling. He's going through his reads. And again, the reads that we're able to see up in the box, again, we have a different angle. Those are reads that'll come to him. I believe there was a point in the game where it was maybe second and long or third and long. I'm not sure which what the down and distance was. But he was scrambled a little bit. Mississippi State had brought pressure, which Mississippi State had brought quite a bit of pressure in the second half of this game. And he scrambled, rolled right, hit Shimon Matire for probably a 3-4 yard out route. And Matire caught it, went out of bounds, and it was either turned into fourth down or third and long, whatever. And he had DeCarlos. DeCarlos was his check down on an angle route. Middle of the field was wide open. The Mike Backer, he had floated on the back end. And ran with the dude in the slot. So the middle of the field was wide open. We're talking about easily a 10, 15-yard play right there. But again, those are little things that are going to come over time. And again, defenses do this. Defenses do this on purpose. When they load the box, they're going to make you beat you through the air, which Mississippi State tried to do in the second half. They just couldn't stop Scat. And they're going to bring pressure to try and get a quarterback out of rhythm, which, again, we talked about. When Sam's in rhythm, he's a tough player to stop. He's going to be a good quarterback. He's going to be an Arizona State Sun Devil for some time, in my personal opinion. And that's something that, again, is going to be okay. You just got to have faith and give it a little bit of time. He's not Drew Pine. He's better. He's not Jacob Conover. He's better. Okay? Just trust me on this. There's a lot of people, not necessarily in the chat, but in the YouTube comments and Twitter, and I don't normally respond to people, that just like, I don't know, for whatever reason, it's like you don't know what you're talking about. Like they don't think I know what I'm talking about. Like I don't go to these practices. I don't talk to these players. I don't talk to these coaches. Like I just don't know what I'm seeing. It's just it does blow my mind a little bit. Like they're like, this guy just sits in the chair, doesn't know a lick about ball. Like he just sits there, bro.
It disgusts you.
Like I just don't get it. Like I don't get it. Like I played football, I coach football. I was around programs that were in college football playoff. Like I don't. I just don't get it.
I was actually gonna say something. I love it when you geek out. I love it when you just football. You get your football freak on.
I do. Okay. I love football.
I love it when you get your football freak on.
Game.
When we're watching the game, you literally call out plays before they happen. You say they're gonna move this guy here. This is gonna happen. Boom, and then it happens. And to be honest with you, like that's not me. Right. Like obviously I love football and I love this team, but my brain is a little bit more of a basketball brain.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of my thing.
Can't wait to see you in a couple months, man.
I'm so excited about that. But I really appreciate it when you go through and like I learned from when you say that. I'm sure our chat does as well. You know, there's so many levels of intricacy with this team and why it's so impressive. Why it's so impressive that they're doing this. And Kevo in the chat, who's doing great, he says that he hit the like button, that he's super cool. That is true. But he also said, quote, "Get your football freak on," Erik Rubin.
I appreciate you, Kevo.
You know, that That might be a perfect shirt for Kenny Dillingham and the Sun Devils.
Get your freak on.
Like a great tagline. Get your football freak on with Kenny Dillingham and the Sun Devils. William says Totri matches Kenny's football freak. That is true.
I don't know if anybody matches that man's football freak.
No, I'm going to be honest with you. As great as Totri is, he does not hold a candle to Kenny Dillingham.
Kenny's
and for
an
that,
animal.
I'm thankful for.
Look, we will. We got one more segment that we're going to get to here in just a little bit. But Erik, I think, Kyle, do we have the timer on the bottom? Right, not everybody can see, but we got the timer on the bottom. Like we can get that started here.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want Arizona or do you want Colorado? We're gonna take 60 seconds apiece.
I will let you take Colorado. Okay, that's your hate.
Okay,
baby.
I will. I will
That's your
take
hate,
Colorado
baby.
as soon as that starts. We're gonna give it a second. Okay,
It's 2 minutes. So.
it's 2 minutes. Do you want Arizona or Colorado first?
Arizona,
You go first with Arizona.
Okay, and we'll take 60 seconds of this each. Okay, as soon as I see the clock start. This is the type of technical difficulties that you get when it is almost... Okay, here we go.
Okay.
You guys are absolute embarrassments. What an absolute fraud of a team you guys are throwing out there. How are you losing to NAU for that long? I remember talking to U of A folks in this office and asking, what does a successful game look like for U of A? And they said, oh, you just can't give up 3 touchdowns. And you know what? They didn't give up 3 touchdowns, but it was still an absolute disgrace. You are not the football program that you expected yourself to be. And you should have listened. You should have listened to us. Because I'm not saying it's over for you guys, but what I am saying is that you are not who you thought you were. And you have proven that through 2 weeks of playing massively inferior competition. Get it together. I'm not rooting for it, but for your own sake, get it together before I start having more of a field day. And guess what? You don't want to be that much of an embarrassment with 3 potential first-round picks on your team.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. You good? You good? You good?
Please.
Okay. Hi, Colorado fans. It's me again. I just want to see how you're feeling, you know, because all I heard all off season was, my goodness, we're going to be so good. We're going to potentially be in a Big 12 championship, college football playoff. Everybody's sleeping on us. We got all these transfers that we don't use now through 2 weeks of the season. We got the best coach that everybody loves to hate. There are media members out there that are they're writing us wrong. They don't know what they're talking about. And here we are, week 2. You woke up from your dream and you landed in a nightmare in Nebraska. 28-10. We're down 28-0 at halftime. Shador's throwing pick sixes. Travis Hunter's throwing temper tantrums on the sidelines. And just like that, you're 1-1.
Your time's about up.
And the sky is falling. Colorado fans, that one's for you, baby.
That was way calmer than I expected.
I mean,
That's how you know you're confident.
We got a long way. Bro, I've been saying that this team is dog doo-doo for months, going on years, and everybody in Boulder, oh my God, you tell me that you're the greatest thing since sliced bread, day after day after day, night after night after night, and you're nothing. You are nothing. You know what you are? You're 1-1. You're fraudulent, and I can't wait to see you against Colorado State.
I'm so sorry to all of our sweet, sweet audio listeners. I'm so sorry, but that was needed. That was building up in your system. I could tell that you were holding on to that.
I don't know ball though.
No.
I don't know ball. It is what it is.
If you check our comments from this past week where we said Arizona State would beat Mississippi State, they'd be able to deal with their SEC size. We were called non-ball knowers.
Whatever.
Which, you know, they'll see.
It's whatever.
They'll see. The truth will come to light. Water will find its level.
It always does. It always does.
Hey, but guess what? Colorado had such an incredible spring game. That line.
Yeah. Where's that dude that was in my chat talking about this team was going to be in a Big 12 championship? Bro, find me. Find me right now. Enter my DMs. You've been
All gone since the season started. You're fraud.
Beats by Bandas. All right, we
bro.
got to stop screaming. People are leaving. But I know a lot of people really appreciate that. Listen, let's not give them any more time than what they deserve. Let's finish up. Let's talk about this game. You know, I want to hear from Kenny Dillingham on Cam Skattebo's growth as a player, because his journey is truly incredible, and I think we're tired of the audio peaking. So let's hear from Kenny on Cam's growth.
First, it was we're going to hand you the ball, and we're going to keep doing that because that's working, right? And then second was the last time I told you to slide to win a game, you scored. Make sure you slide, right? And that was UCLA, and he ran as far as he could. He could have scored a touchdown, and he slid. And that's the growth that he's had. Is Scat of last year goes and scores and gives them a chance to have 2 minutes left to go in the game, to go down and score, kick an onside kick, and try to win. Scat of this year falls down. We take 3 knees. We win the football game. That's the growth he's made as a person.
Kind of scary that Cam Skattebo's committed to getting better. The Big 12 should be terrified. I, for one, am absolutely elated. Fantastic person, fantastic player, the perfect running back for this program, the best player on this team, and somebody that is the sole reason as to why they actually won this game today. Again, 262 yards on the ground, 35 in the air, the second most in Arizona State history on the ground, and he's just focused on getting better, whether that's, not chasing personal stats or whether that's, putting up some insane video game numbers. He's going to do it.
He is.
And that, that for me, that's the biggest thing I'm walking away with, but I'm so excited to hear your closing time.
It's my favorite. I mean, again, it's 12:40 right now. If you're listening to this on audio, you're probably like, when are these two going to shut up? Well, we're
going to talk after this. Once the cameras are off, we're still going to talk about
be
this
for
game.
like another hour. So
and we'll be back on Monday.
Never ends.
It never ends. The grind never ends, and your Sun Devils are 2-0, but the lights are dimming. Kyle he's snapping at me. He's like, okay, let's wrap it up. Kyle,
take it away, King.
Do you know what time it is, Kyle?
It is closing time.
It is closing time. This segment is powered by Neutral. Keep it tasty, Tempe. Enjoy responsibly. Let's get that sweet, sexy sex going. My God, we got 3 takeaways for y'all. Let's go ahead. Let's get into it. Scat's the man. That's takeaway number 1. If you couldn't tell from this hour and a half post-game show, Scat is the dude. He's getting better. Like you said, Erik, that is scary for the Big 12. The second takeaway, adversity. This team, I said it at the start of the show, adversity knocked on the door. Cam Skattebo said, I'm here. And they ran away, just like they're going to do time and time again. Your team isn't the team of old. And finally, there's nothing like history. There's nothing like being a part of history. And your Arizona State Sun Devils, not only are they 2-0, but they made history. First time beating an SEC team in program history. Guys, that is going to do it for tonight's PHNX Sun Devil Show. We really do appreciate everybody hopping in the chat, hanging out with us, whether you're here for 5 minutes or 50. We love you all. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review. If you enjoyed the content, give us a follow at PHNX_Sun Devils. You can follow me at Anthony_Totri. You can follow this man right here, the party animal himself, at Erik Ruby. That is
just dropped.
Erik with AK. You can follow the man behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen. That is Kyle with K Coop Sports.
He had to cut the music because you messed up his name.
I know. I'm so sorry, Kyle. We love you. We appreciate you guys. Again, have a blessed evening. We will see you guys bright and squirrely on Monday. But in the meantime, go Devils. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.